So, what exactly connects a grueling 15-day boat ride, a makeshift ironed on shirt that ended up selling for $9.2 million, and Lionel Messi? Well, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the wild, absolutely fascinating evolution of the World Cup. And we're going to do it by tracking the unforgettable, century-long journey of one specific squad, the Argentine national team. Let's just dive right in. We're looking at a journey that spans nearly 100 years. As you'll see, we are tracking how this tournament morphed from its scrappy, chaotic, almost amateur roots into the massive, hyper-analytical, tactical spectacle we all watch today. To do that, we're going to hit 3 era-defining tournaments. First up, the birth of the World Cup in 1930. Then we'll jump to 1986 for the infamous Hand of God. And finally, we'll break down the 2022 Tactical Masterclass. All right, Part 1, 1930. The birth of the World Cup. Context here is absolutely crucial. The world was deep in the Great Depression, and honestly, just getting to the host nation of Uruguay was a massive logistical nightmare. There were no qualification rounds back then. Every single country affiliated with FIFA got an invite, but very few European teams actually wanted to make the trip. To put the sheer difficulty into perspective, European teams like France, Yugoslavia, Belgium, and Romania all had to travel together on a single ocean liner, the SS Conte Verde. French player Lucien Laurent actually talked about spending 15 days on this ship, doing basic fitness down below, and doing their actual football training up on the top deck. They even picked up the Brazilian team along the way. It was just a completely different world. But listen, while the travel was a total grind, the passion, that was immediate. For the final match between hosts Uruguay and neighboring Argentina, an estimated 10 to 15,000 Argentine fans completely swarmed Montevideo. They crossed the river by boat, literally chanting the war cry Victoria o Muerte, victory or death. The atmosphere was so emotionally charged that supporters were getting searched for weapons at the gates. The official stadium attendance swelled to 93,000 people. And get this, in a brilliant illustration of how little standardization there was back then, the two teams couldn't even agree on which match ball to use for the final. Can you imagine that happening today? No way. So FIFA had to step in and make a bizarre ruling. The first half would be played with Argentina's preferred ball, and the second half would use Uruguay's. Uruguay ultimately won that historic final 4-2, becoming the first ever World Cup champions. But Argentina made a massive mark. Their forward Guillermo Stabile cemented his legacy as the tournament's top scorer with 8 goals. So despite the loss, this ferocious 1930 campaign set the stage for a century of chasing glory. Which brings us to Section 2, 1986, the Hand of God. We're jumping 56 years ahead to the World Cup in Mexico. This was an era defined by intense geopolitical rivalries and just unparalleled individual brilliance. To understand the atmosphere of this quarterfinal between Argentina and England, we have to note the historical backdrop of the Falklands War. Just 4 years prior, in 1982, Britain administers the islands and sent a naval task force to recapture them after Argentina, who claimed the territory, initiated a conflict. It resulted in tragic military casualties on both sides, which made this matchup so much more than just a football game for the fans watching. Now, before the match even kicked off, we had drama in the locker room, and it really shows how that improvisational, scrappy spirit was still alive and well in the 80s. Argentina's coach, Carlos Bilardo, decided their heavy cotton shirts were going to be way too hot for the Mexico City heat. So, with literally just days to go, his staff frantically scoured local shops and bought 38 light blue shirts. They quickly sewed on makeshift national badges and ironed on silvery American football numbers onto the backs. They literally walked onto a World Cup pitch in homemade kits. And then came the second half, featuring arguably the most infamous moment in football history. In the 51st minute, the ball loops into the England penalty area. Diego Maradona, who is significantly shorter than England's 6'1" goalkeeper Peter Shilton, jumps up and uses his outside left hand to just punch the ball into the net. The referee completely missed it and allowed the goal. Afterwards, Maradona famously and cheekily told the press it was scored a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God. But you know, if the first goal of pure controversy, the second was undisputed genius. Just 4 minutes later, Maradona receives the ball in his own half, dribbles 60 yards, completely evades 5 English players, and scores. It was later voted the goal of the century. The moment was brilliantly captured by the passionate live commentary from Victor Hugo Morales, who yelled, "Cosmic kite, what planet did you come from to leave so many Englishmen behind, for the country to be a clenched fist crying for Argentina?" Argentina won 2-1 and went on to win the whole tournament. And just to show you the lasting cultural impact of this specific match, English midfielder Steve Hodge swapped shirts with Maradona in the tunnel afterwards. He kept it for decades. Well, in 2022, that very piece of makeshift fabric, the one bought in a local shop and ironed together days before the game, sold at auction for over $9.2 million, a literal record for sports memorabilia.
Moving right along to Section 3, 2022, a tactical masterclass.
Leaping all the way forward to 2022, we witnessed the climax of the game's evolution. We have completely left behind the boat rides and the last-minute shirt shopping. We are now in the realm of highly complex analytical science. The final between Argentina and France wasn't just a clash of superstars like Messi and Mbappé, it was a meticulous tactical chess match. You had Argentina lining up in a 4-3-3 structure, while France deployed a 4-2-3-1. Every single player's positioning was highly calculated to exploit specific zones. Check out this tactical masterstroke from Argentina. Early in the game, they deliberately overloaded their left side. Angel Di Maria held out wide, Alexis McAllister pushed into the spaces inside the French right back, and Nicolas Tagliafico pushed forward from the defense. This structure forced France's Ousmane Dembélé to constantly run back to defend. It completely isolated the French defense on that side, which directly led to Di Maria winning an early penalty that Messi converted. And the data totally backs up Argentina's dominance here. They held nearly 55% of the possession, expertly controlling the flow, the tempo, and the rhythm for the first 80 minutes. In fact, their tactical setup was so oppressive that France didn't even register a single shot until the 70th minute. If we look at expected goals, or XG, which measures the quality of scoring chances, it reveals that Argentina maintained a fierce offensive edge the entire time. Even though the match ended in a crazy draw, Argentina's underlying chance quality was much higher at 3.25 compared to France's 2.19. They did have to survive a dramatic late surge where Mbappé scored a sensational hat-trick, but the tactical foundation absolutely belonged to Argentina. After a chaotic, beautiful, and totally exhausting 3-3 draw at the end of extra time, we went to penalties. Emiliano Martinez's heroics in goal secured a 4-2 shootout victory for Argentina. It was their first World Cup win since Maradona lifted it in 1986, finally giving Messi his ultimate prize. Looking back at this entire journey, it's just incredibly poetic to think about the future. In 2030, to celebrate the 100-year anniversary of the tournament, the opening match will be played right back where the whole thing began, at the Estadio Centenario in Montevideo, Uruguay. Which brings us to the end of our explainer. I want to leave you with this final thought. We've seen this tournament evolve from 15-day boat rides and fighting over soccer balls to ironing numbers onto shirts in the 80s, all the way to today's hyper-analytical era of expected goals and tactical overloads. If the beautiful game has changed this much in its first century, what in the world is the next 100 years going to look like?